Hi guys, Allie here from Pop-Up Painters. I'm so excited to get this painting started today. Who loves dogs? I know I do, and this shaggy dog painting is going to be amazing. Let's see what materials we need for our painting. So the materials needed for the shaggy dog painting, I've got a 9" by 12" canvas flat board. I've got 2 paintbrushes, a flat square as well as a round paintbrush. That'll be good for our details, and a little piece of chalk. If you don't have chalk, a pencil will work just fine. I've got a paint palette, a basin of water. I really like these mushroom containers. I find they're excellent for holding the paintbrushes, a sponge, and acrylic paint. The colors that we're using today for our puppy are brown, white, black, and pink. And then you can choose any color you want for your background. I chose teal. So what we're gonna do first is with our sponge, we are going to dip the sponge into water and squeeze out all of the excess. You don't want any of the water to be able to drip if you squeeze it, but you do want it slightly damp. This will allow your paint to flow really nicely and create sort of the ombre background that we're going to be doing today. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your white and the color of your background, I chose teal, and you are going to put those colors onto the canvas directly. The reason why we do this is that it'll allow the sponge to blend that paint really smoothly instead of dipping our sponge in from the palette and applying it that way. This way always works really, really well. So we've got our main color on, and then we're gonna add a little bit of white. So I'll just put a little bit of white in between and a bit at the bottom. So what we're gonna do first is we want our dog to almost be sitting in behind sort of a sunlight look. So it's gonna illuminate from the center and kind of radiate out. So what you're gonna do is with your damp sponge is you are going to bring your paint around and around. Just like that. And you wanna fill in the entire background. And then you're gonna have your different strokes, just like that. So it's almost in a circular motion. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna switch my sponge upside down, and I'm going to make that circle a little more obvious and just bring those brush strokes out. Perfect. Now to make our the illusion that our dog is sort of sitting up at a table, what we need to do is we need to draw and separate that space. So using your sponge, you're going to pull the paint sideways. So now we have 2 directions that our paint is going. The background looks like it's almost sort of a sky in behind this table, which is just right there. So just circle, smoothen that out if you have any bumps and ridges, and we're ready to let that sit for 5 minutes, just so that it can dry, and then you're going to draw on your puppy. Okay, so our background should be all nice and dry. Now we are going to use our chalk or our pencil, and I really like using chalk because it doesn't mix with the acrylic paint. So even though your canvases feel dry to the touch, they aren't fully cured to your background. So if I were to draw on my image and I would rub it off, if I make a mistake, I might take off some of this background. So what I want to do is chalk on my image. If I make a mistake, no big deal. I will brush it off in a couple of days when the painting is fully cured. So the start of our shaggy dog is we are gonna start with his body. And remember, this horizontal area is sort of like a table. He's kind of peeking up over the ledge. So we're gonna start by drawing his neck and come down into his body, stopping at the table. So it's almost like a little kind of a volcano shape. And then we're gonna draw his cheeks. So I'm doing this all upside down. You guys do whatever works for you. So We're gonna start by coming around on each side, and he's got those big floppy cheeks. And you can close it up at the top, and he's got his cute little nose. A triangle, upside down triangle nose right there in the center. All right, now his head is going to sit on top, and it's just a big arch, sort of like a rainbow, that comes all the way from one side to the other. And then our Shaggy Dog has floppy ears. So I'm gonna have one floppy ear, and I'll make them quite textured with my paint. I'm just mapping out the shape right now. And they kind of stop just past, we'll give him really big floppy ears, just past the cheek. And we're gonna do the same on either side. So this dog could be like a golden doodle maybe. It could be a Cocker Spaniel or a Springer Spaniel. You can make this dog in any color that you want to reflect your favorite puppy. Now our dog is gonna be sitting up with his paws on top of this ledge. So how we're gonna do that is we are gonna do sort of an upside down V and bring it down onto sort of our little table here, and do the same for the other side. So you've got, those are gonna be his sort of his elbows, or his wrists coming up over, and then we're gonna give him really big paws. So we're gonna do 3, 1, 2, and 3, and bring that up. Make sure you come on top of the table a little bit, but don't close it off, because that's gonna be the top of his hand. And we're gonna do the same on this side. 1, 2, and 3, and then we're going to bring it up into there. Actually, I might do this one a little bit bigger. It's a little bit small. We want it to be nice and big. There we go. Perfect. So here you can see I've got 2 lines, but I know which line I want to paint. So that's sort of the shape of our floppy dog. And looking at him, I'll probably extend his ears and give him a little bit more shape as we get going. The very first thing we've got to do to our floppy dog is we got to bring him to life, and we're going to add some paint. So I think I'm going to do my guy in a brown and a white. We're going to give him sort of that spaniel feel, or kind of like a brown and white Shaggy Dog or doodle. And I am going to start with one color all over. So if you want to do a golden doodle, you can start with yellow. If you want to do a light brown dog, it's entirely up to you. But I'm going to start with white. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my flat brush, dip it in some water, and we want to prep it. So I always prep it wet, and then I pull it flat. And what that does is it gives me a really nice surface to paint with. And I'm going to dip this into white, and I am going to start applying the paint. So what you want to do is you want to go around each of your edge. You're going to leave your nose. We're not going to paint our nose, but you are going to paint in each of your shapes. So if your dog is all white, you're gonna do everything in white. If your dog is different colors, maybe it's white with brown, which is what I'm gonna do, then you're going to paint them in different colors. But you basically start by outlining each shape. So I'm always gonna start with his cheeks first, which is sort of these 2 circles, just like that. And then going into his body, we are doing the same. You're shaping it out so that you can see your brush strokes, and you know which area is which. So I'm gonna start to get that all painted. Oops, I went a bit too far. There we go. When you get to your table here, you want to make sure that you do a flat line, just like that, so that you create that divider. Okay, so we're gonna get our dog all painted in, and you can do 2 coats if you need to. The trick with this is that you really, really, really have to smoothen out your paint. So when your acrylic paint dries, it's going to look the same way it looks when it's wet. So if you've got all these little bumps and ridges, you just wanna go over them and smoothen them out. The trick is you actually don't need that much paint, so just dip a little bit at a time and slowly work with that. And then each time when you need to apply more paint, then you can, but you don't want to start off with a ton of paint because you're going to be left with it looking very, very, very choppy. So just big brush strokes, nice and smooth like that. And let's get the rest of our puppy painted. All right, so we have our puppy all painted in. Now what we have to do is we have to bring him to life. So we've got all of our colors. I decided to do mine in sort of brown and white. He's got some sort of patchwork, and I'm gonna add some more details as we go along. But now what we need to do is we are going to paint on some of our details to get this guy to life. So how we're gonna do that is we're gonna paint on our eyes and our nose. So your dog might have a brown nose, it might have a black nose, it might have a pink nose. So I'm gonna use black, and I'm gonna put a little bit on my palette. And then with my smaller brush, my round brush, I'm gonna dip it in water and we're gonna prep it again. So laying it flat, I'm just gonna roll it and get those bristles nice and shaped. So it's got a good point on it. And what I'm gonna do is I am gonna outline my upside down triangle just in this little puppy's nose. Perfect. So you want to outline it first, and then you're going to paint it in afterwards, and then this will give it a really nice kind of crisp look to it. Just going around. You don't want the edges too sharp, so we're going to round them just slightly so it doesn't look like he's actually got a triangle on his nose. There. Okay, so we've got his nose all colored or painted in, and now we're going to do our 2 black circles. And so you want to make him kind of look, I want to say a little bit cartoony. So we're going to do oversized eyes, and they're going to be black, and we do want them to touch your snout here. So they go on either side of the nose, and you're gonna do big black circles. And we're gonna fully paint them in. Again, you want them to look a little bit bigger just to give them sort of a cartoony feel to them. I'm actually gonna make that even bigger. There we go. And we'll do the same on the other side. So my challenge every time I do characters is getting those circles to be the same size. Totally fine if they're 2 different sizes. I guarantee mine will look a little bit different because I can never get my circles perfect. So we've got 2 black circles, just like that. There we go. All right, and then what we're going to do is we are going to start to add in some of our other details. So wash off our brushes, and we are going to put on his cute little tongue. Now you don't have to do this part. If you want to add a collar instead, you can do that as well. But we are going to put on a tongue for this particular one. And using pink, I've got his little, his snout right coming up here, sort of like an upside down M, and we want to make sure that we outline that. So we're going to put a little letter U for his tongue and paint that completely in. Make sure you outline the bottom of his snout, just how it comes up a little bit like that. Perfect. Oh, he's starting to come to life. Really cute. All right, and now what we are going to do is we are going to add on some of our details in white. So we are gonna add, if you wanna put some white spots on him, so say that I want him to have maybe some cute little white toes. I'm gonna put on a spot maybe down here, and we're gonna paint, say he looks like he's got some white toes, and you can have maybe just some single spots if you wanted to do just some spots going around like this. Maybe adding a little spot here and there. You can bring up, you know, those little white toes a little bit. You can also add, for a little bit of detail, give him a white stripe down the center of his face, and have it come kind of sort of separated like that, just so he's got almost like a little mohawk. And then we can add in some fluff coming off of there after, so you can extend that right off of your body. There we go. Perfect. All right, so we've got some little white options. So you can do some white toes, some spots. If you want to put a little brown spot on that side, you absolutely can. And then we have our little white spot down the middle. So what I might even do for my brown spots is I might throw in a little bit on his body. So maybe we'll give our pup some color coming down on this one side. We'll make him look all cute and shaggy. So maybe we'll have him have a little bit of white just down, or sorry, brown just coming down this one side, and then it'll give him that sort of shaggy look that we're looking for. Perfect, and it just tucks in right behind his paw, and then maybe we'll have another little bit kind of coming in on the other side just to balance it out. But we want to have one, he's almost half brown, half white, so we'll have, you know, maybe a little bit of brown, and then maybe we'll just have this kind of come just a little bit in front, sort of like a little spot. We'll have a little spot coming in right on this side. Perfect. So this is just sort of to, again, just to kind of give him a little bit of some character, and you can paint this like you're a puppy at home if you want to do spots going in other directions, or you want to have some other spots in other colors. So he's going to have a little bit of a crooked spot, but I like it. Makes him look kind of fun. All right, perfect. So we've got this puppy here. It's got this kind of off-sized line here. Fantastic. All right, so make sure that your brown, if you're using brown, is nice and solid. So you want to smoothen out all of those paint lines. You don't want it to look so streaky. You want it to look nice and smooth. There we go. That looks a little bit better. Perfect. So this puppy, here, we'll smoothen out these ones too, has his kind of character to him. So he's sort of half brown, half white. All right. Now what we're going to do is we have to add in our white detail. So what that's going to look like, so we put in sort of some white fur and white spots and whatnot, but now we need to put on some white on his eyes. So what that's going to look like is using, again, the smaller paintbrush, you're going to dip it into white, and we are actually going to line a little bit of a crest inside of your puppy's eyeball. So just sort of like a C, and you want to make sure you leave a black edge on that one side. So I still have a little bit of black and then white, and then I'm going to do the same thing on the other eye. So I'm leaving that black edge, and I'm just coming around here, just to give him a little bit of real features here. Okay, so we've got two little white C's. And then what you're going to do is using the end of your paintbrush, you can dip it upside down and you're going to stamp on two circles on the opposite side of your C. So you're going to have a bigger circle and then you'll have a smaller circle just underneath it. And then we'll do the same on the other. So a big circle and then a smaller circle. Oh, he's starting to come to life. Perfect. And then now what we're going to do is with our paintbrush end, you're going to put a little bit of a white detail on the tip of his nose. Just like that. And then what we're going to do is we are going to also add in, so this is where it's going to start to get sort of that shaggy look that we're going for. So we're going to put in a little bit of a white on his ears. So you don't want the lines to be solid. You want them sort of broken up a little bit so it looks like it's in and out of his fur. So we're doing it on the top and down one side, and we'll do a couple lines on this side. You don't need to do too many on this side because this is where our light is sort of coming in from. And it's highlighting just this one side. We're also going to add some little sort of spikes on his head. So using our white, we're going to put on, of course if you've done a different color, you can do this with a different color, but we are going to put on sort of these water fountain strokes and make it look like he's got that messy sort of spiky mane. Excellent. You can smoothen out those lines. You don't want any of these sort of bumpy lines. Nice and smooth so your puppy looks even. Great. And then he's got a single white line just in the center of his tongue. So you want to come right up to the center of his snout and then just stop just before you get to the bottom. Now we're also going to add a little bit of white on his paws. And we'll do the same on some of his stripes coming down on that one side, or his spots, I should say. All right, so our puppy's got his white on him. So now what we need to do is we are going to add our black detail. So this is what really brings him to life, and it's really gonna make it pop. So we have to outline all of our puppy and we have to kind of reshape him. We're also going to be giving him some freckles. So when we're finished, then he's really gonna stand out. The black contrast is gonna make it look amazing. So we are going to start by dipping our paintbrush into the black paint. Okay, so I've done my outlines around the head and the snout, as well as the tongue and the ears. But now I want to do the feet because I want to make sure that it looks like that they're flopping over. So how we're going to do that is we are going to start by doing our initial sort of mountain shape, an upside down V, just coming up along here and carrying that black outline all the way to the bottom of the paw. And then you can go ahead and outline each of those little fingers and make sure that you connect it and close it up. Perfect. Now, this is where you need to pull that line up over the wrist so it looks like he's looping it over. So it's coming on an angle and it doesn't quite hit the side of the other, the end of his paw, but it does sort of go higher than the table. So we'll do that for the other paw as well. So we've got all of our outline and we've outlined those little paws. And now what we're going to do is we are going to add some freckles. So using the end of our paintbrush, similar to how we did in the eyes, we are going to put some freckles on his cute little snout. So you can use black, you can use brown, you just want to put on enough to give him sort of that cute little cartoony look. And they're sort of just in and about the sides here. They can be different shapes, or sorry, different sizes. We're doing all circles, but different sizes. There we go. Perfect. So we've, and then what we can do is we can add some sort of detail to the background. So I always like to do maybe a dip dot. You can add sort of what looks like confetti just to give it the sort of different look than our table. Because they are the same color, we do want to make it look like the background has its own space. So using the back end of your paintbrush, you can add some white dip dots throughout if you want to do multiple dip dots, and you can put in some pink, or you want to do a totally different color like oranges and purples, go for it. It always looks so fun and sort of like confetti's being sprinkled everywhere. So we can add in our dip dots throughout. And then once you're all finished with that, your pup is ready for a name. Thanks so much for painting with me on Pop-Up Painters. Be sure to give this video a big thumbs up and drop us some comments down below. Let us know what you want to create with us next time. Be sure to subscribe to our channel so you never miss a painting. And as always, thanks for taking in the time for some mindful art moments with Pop-Up Painters.